In the third year of our engagement, Adrian's confession to his ex-girlfriend became a trending topic. This time, I didn't step forward. I resigned from my high-level position at Pay's, returned his family's gifts, and the jewelry he gave me. I said to him, "Let's call off the engagement." He smiled at me mockingly. "Is this a strategic retreat? You were the one who proposed the engagement." But I didn't attend the wedding. I was happy to be engaged anyway. "Since you'd endure anything for the sake of the shares." As soon as I entered the training, the conversations in the company abruptly stopped. Burdened with a migraine from a sleepless night, I noticed the subtle gazes directed at me, tinged with pity and mockery. As I entered the office, a murmur rippled outside the door. The indignant voice of the new intern stood out. "Adrian is going too far, having such an outstanding fiancé like CEO Shin. And oh, it's Adrian's scandal again." For the past 3 years, whenever Adrian's scandals blew up, he never responded. I was the one who always dealt with the media. Pay's has a specialized public opinion monitoring team that can notify me at the first sign of escalating situations. Over the past 3 years, I've become accustomed to online abuse and immune to these kinds of looks. Netizens comment that he loves the strongest personal resume and is building the most qualified main wife. I rubbed my temples, expressionlessly blocking out all sounds, then nodded to the tall figure standing by the desk waiting. "Let's begin, Aaron. Only the final touches remain for the handover. After today, my career at the Pay Corporation will officially end." Assistant, he organized the materials but didn't leave as usual. He was mixed race, and his deep blue eyes fixed on me as he suddenly asked why I was resigning. "Even so, am I still going to marry him? Aaron has been my assistant for 3 years. And this is the first time he's so abruptly inquired about my private life." I tilted my head slightly, somewhat puzzled. Aaron's slender fingers pointed to my phone, which displayed my fiancé. In the wrap-up interview video for the drama, Adrian and the rising star Chloe were visibly close. After a few playful jabs, Adrian's captivating eyes curved into a lovely smile. Ever since he had a falling out with his family at 18 over acting, I hadn't seen him look so relaxed and carefree. When the reporter asked him about his first impression of Chloe, Adrian tilted his head, a charming smile playing on his lips, full of life and freedom. Chloe's bright face even flushed slightly, and her radiant smile turned a little shy. My gaze focused on a pendant hanging from his phone. The outer ring was a dazzling array of diamonds meticulously crafted into a snowflake shape, surrounding a small snowflake in the center, a birthday gift I once gave to Adrian. The reporter then asked Adrian what kind of person he liked. Adrian's expression suddenly darkened as if something was on his mind, and he gave an irrelevant answer. "I hate those who are conventional and willing to be lackeys." The reporter followed up while the iron was hot. "Sounds like the complete opposite of Chloe. I heard that you and Chloe attended the same high school. Is Chloe your ideal type?" I already know the answer to that question. The next second, Adrian admitted it openly and honestly, saying he's been a fan since he was 18. An overwhelming number of pink comments already covered the 2 figures. Among the countless "I'm dead from this" and "Jiaofeng CP99, I saw a black one float by. "But doesn't Adrian have a fiancé?" Immediately, fans explained that there's no ring. The engagement banquet was attended perfunctorily. They haven't gotten married after being engaged for years, and the two have no interaction at all. It's probably hired PR. What era is it where you still support arranged marriages? The Qing dynasty is long gone. The news that followed was about the 2 of them being photographed together late at night entering and leaving a bar, and suspected of returning to the same hotel. I calmly handed the phone back to Aaron. Aaron helped me draft the statement to terminate the engagement. I had originally planned to write it myself, to personally put an end to these 3 years. But now it seems pointless. This is the first time I've entrusted something related to Adrian to someone else. Aaron's narrow eyes widened, and his voice trembled slightly. "Okay." Aaron rarely showed such emotional fluctuations. I watched his quickly rising back, a little surprised that the taciturn and always considerate he was actually so gossipy. A needle-like pain shot through my temples again. I rubbed them absently, feeling years of pent-up exhaustion rush over me. But it wasn't over yet. There was one last step. I was awakened by Adrian's footsteps. I had been waiting on the sofa for too long and had unknowingly fallen asleep. Adrian had a coat draped over his arm, his face very close to mine. I was conscious and could feel the breeze from his fluttering eyelashes. Seeing that I was awake, he took 2 steps back, frowned, and his usually flirtatious eyes were cold and devoid of the tenderness he displayed during interviews. "Did you need something?" The remnants of a hangover lingered on his face, his shirt casually unbuttoned, 2 lipstick stains smudged on the collar, and a faint, suggestive red mark near his collarbone. I averted my gaze and heard my own voice calmly say, "Adrian, let's talk." Adrian scoffed. "Are you going to try to be a lobbyist for my mom again? Give it up. I have no interest in inheriting pay. Isn't it enough to have you as his puppet? I'm here to tell you that Richard has approved my resignation." Adrian paused his unbuttoning, his eyebrows and eyes filled with impatience. "Resignation? He wants you to marry me. Did he realize that trying to trip me up wasn't working, so he wants to install a surveillance camera directly?" I calmly repeated words I had said many times. "Richard is very busy and doesn't have time to find someone to make things difficult for you." This was the truth. The experiments that the Pei family does have nothing to do with the entertainment industry. Adrian didn't come from formal training, and a large part of his success on screen is due to his face. But the dark side of fame and fortune is not uncommon. Adrian initially faced setbacks everywhere, just like when he was in high school and blamed my informing Richard of his schedule. Pei Feng shook his head impatiently, as if shooing away an annoying fly. "If it weren't for Grandma Parker's last wish, who would want to marry you? I'm in the prime of my career right now and don't have time to hold any weddings with you. Just notify me of the wedding time and location, and I'll see if I'm in the mood to show up." His thin lips curved into a sarcastic arc. "Anyway, you're willing to put up with anything for the sake of Pei Corporation's shares." Pei Corporation was founded by Adrian's Grandma Parker, and then nurtured and inherited by Adrian's mother. After fully taking over, she was busy with the company. So Adrian was raised by Grandma Parker. 1 or 2 years ago, on a rainy day, my biological father, after gambling for 2 days and 2 nights, returned home and, with bloodshot eyes, threatened me with his belt, demanding the last bit of savings my mother had left me, saying he didn't even have money for food, and that he might beat me to death if I didn't give it to him. I didn't want to die, I wanted to eat, and I wanted to go to school. I ran desperately in the rain, blindly running onto the road. If the driver who came with my mother's dowry hadn't braked quickly, I probably would have died right there. I collapsed to the ground, my heart pumping blood, tears flowing. The rain and the lights blurred my vision with halos, and the roar of traffic filled my ears. A pair of warm hands lifted me from the ground, half embraced me, and a soft handkerchief wiped the dirt from my face. I opened my eyes and saw Adrian's anxious dark eyes. "Emily, how are you?" My father was being held to the ground by the Pei family's driver, his stubbled face pressed against the sewage-filled road, his eyes full of resentment, and he was constantly cursing, in fright. I fainted in Adrian's arms. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital room. Adrian's broken hair tried to hang on his fair forehead, and the dark circles under his eyes revealed his fatigue. He was tossing an apple in front of my bed. Seeing that I was awake, he gave me a slightly rogue smile. "Hey, number one, my name is Pei Feng. Feng as in sharp." He casually picked up a knife and started peeling an apple. "Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Your cheap dad has already been taken down by the cops." I thanked him sincerely and couldn't help but ask, "Do you know me?" He peeled the apple so badly that he had to throw it aside. Hearing this, he laughed at me again. "Haha, the genius girl from No. 1 high school, who doesn't know you, the young master who grew up in the wealthy neighborhood." Today was probably the closest he'd ever been to the misery of the lower class in his life. He directly refused my offer to return the money, looking at me with pure pity. "Your dad is really not human. Since I've run into this, it's my business. Don't worry, the Pei family has no shortage of money." That night, he went back to ask his foster parents to adopt me, but of course, my foster parents rejected his whimsical idea. Grandma Parker, who was ill, said that the house was lonely and Adrian's grades were not good. She let me live in the Pei family, with me tutoring Adrian as a reward. In the first 2 years, Adrian treated me like a younger sister, always giving me strange snacks and shiny little trinkets that he thought girls would like. He waved a snowflake bracelet he skipped class to buy in front of me, coaxing me to call him brother, but I hesitated for a long time, and finally just called him Adrian. Adrian looked very helpless. Emily, you're so stingy. Richard wasn't interested in me. He was busy with the internal power struggles of the company. We barely saw each other, until my competition trophies filled a small room. The way he looked at me became more and more satisfied. And he started calling me to his study to test me, and even hired a special coach for me to participate in international competitions. During my 4 years of university, I rotated through various departments of the Pay Corporation. After the engagement was finalized, I entered Pay Corporation's upper management as Adrian's fiancé. Adrian and his relationship have always been strained. Besides their similar good looks, Adrian is nothing like her, skipping classes, fighting, dating. He has no interest in running the business and even said he wants to go into the entertainment industry with Chloe. During Adrian's adolescence, the older he got, the worse their relationship became, until after another big fight, Richard roared, "Can you be even half as worry-free as Emily?" and slammed the door. Adrian looked at me coldly as I clumsily tried to comfort him, and suddenly said, "Are you his dog?" I was stunned. Adrian said, "Why do you listen to him about everything? He tells you what to learn and you learn it. You practice day and night like a robot, just to bring those trophies home for him to show off. Do you have any of your own opinions? What do you like? What are your hobbies? Do you even know yourself? I was the one who brought you here, but you're on his side." His gaze towards me became very cold. "Emily, your last name isn't Pay. No matter how much you do, he won't give you shares." I later found out that there were always voices around him saying that Richard was taking care of an orphan because his own son was useless and he was looking for a new heir. I put in even more effort, clearly showing that I wanted to fight for his family property. I opened my mouth. I really didn't have very pale words. But I was sponsored, not a child of the Pay family. Besides good grades and obedience, what could I repay? Adrian suddenly got close to me. I smelled the cold woody scent on him. "Tomorrow we're racing motorcycles in the back mountain. He wants me to believe you. If you don't come to watch, I'll believe you." He knew I had a competition training session tomorrow that I valued very much and had specifically inquired about it, even changing 2 teachers for me. The next day, after finishing the competition early, I first saw a news notification on my phone about the permanent closure of the illegal racetrack in the back hills. Adrian's message popped up. No wonder my mom knew everything, including the fact that Chloe and I were together and skipping classes. "So it was really you who snitched on me." I sent a message but received a red exclamation mark. Suspicion became guilt. He didn't intend to listen to my defense. I sucked on the screen. My mind was blank, but I didn't regret it. I couldn't tolerate any possibility of an accident happening to Adrian. After this incident, I was probably completely classified by Adrian as a part of him that was a constraint, inflexible, cautious, obedient, and completely the opposite of his first love, Chloe. Shijiao was flamboyant and beautiful, and she played a supporting role in a Hollywood blockbuster in high school because of her beauty. And then she stayed abroad to study, and the two broke up, if it wasn't for Grandma Parker's wish when she was seriously ill. She hoped that her 2 favorite children could be together forever. Adrian wouldn't have gotten engaged to me even if I was the only one left in the world with him. Pei Feng didn't even attend the engagement banquet, and only appeared with a stiff face when he needed to act for Grandma Parker. The ring was bought by Pei Yu, and I wore both of them for 3 years in this one-man show. Adrian never asked Grandma Parker to give me 5% of the shares in her will on the condition that I marry Adrian, which probably deepened Adrian's impression of me plotting Pei's property. But I don't care what he thinks anymore. Everything will be over today. I touched the ring mark on my hand, and I really felt that this mark was a joke. I slowly exhaled and said, "It's not a wedding, it's a cancellation of the engagement. The list and jewelry are in the bedroom. You can check them." On the bedside table in the bedroom, 2 engagement rings are pressing a list of assets. "They are the jewelry that Grandma Parker gave me. I don't want any of it." Adrian paused. He threw his coat on the sofa and frowned to say goodbye. Do you think I don't know that you also took a psychology degree in college? You have time to deal with me. A tactical retreat. He pressed his brow. Good. We haven't even gotten married yet and you're already settling property. How do you plan to calculate the compensation you owe me to date? I've already gone over it with Richard. Pei finished reading my resignation letter and remained silent for a long time. He took out a bohea cigarette from his Yinhui cigarette case, and I silently lit it for him. The cigarette burned more than halfway. Richard then spoke. He was confused at the end of his illness. And you were the one who was always with him. Pei's transformation was a success, and profits tripled. You deserve most of the credit. Without you watching over Xiaofeng, I wouldn't have been able to feel at ease these past few years. Richard took a puff. Emily, Xiaofeng is too young. He doesn't know how to cherish things. I smiled and said, without you, there would be no me today. Pei sighed, a sharp look in her eyes showing a hint of fatigue through the smoke. Have you thought about where to go next? I thought of the snow-capped mountains thousands of miles away and the feeling of climbing. The first time in a long time I felt something akin to relaxation. I've thought it through. Pei finished her cigarette and casually stubbed it out in the ashtray. This usually stern CEO's expression softened, and she gently patted my hand. Remember to come back and visit. The Pei family is your home too. I didn't want to waste any more words with Adrian, so I stood up to leave. Adrian suddenly grabbed my wrist, his dark eyes staring straight at me, his movements even carrying a hint of nervousness. Where are you going? Adrian glanced around the living room, probably not seeing a suitcase. He breathed a slight sigh of relief. I said, there's one last thing. Could I have the snow globe back? Over the years, most of the gifts I gave Adrian he tossed aside without even looking at them. Only that snow globe he casually hung on his phone, probably forgetting to take it off, considering Adrian's scandals. He has 1,000 ways to coax his childhood sweetheart. If I may, please give it to Hiju. He will pass it on. Adrian's hand suddenly loosened, and he seemed to be in a much better mood. He leaned back on the sofa, revealing a shallow dimple on his left cheek. I said, what's this act today? So, you're jealous? That was just for publicity. I interrupted him. We have no relationship now. You have no obligation to explain to me. Everything that needs to be said has been said. I have no intention of dragging this out any further, and walked towards the door. Adrian's voice, laced with laughter, came from behind me. Come back early. I don't feel well after drinking. I want to drink the porridge you make tomorrow morning. My steps faltered. When Adrian was filming abroad, I flew for over 10 hours to take care of him after his last phone call. When he said he had a stomach ache, even though I had already been working non-stop for a month, the next day, when he woke up, his first reaction when he saw me was to coldly say, what are you doing here? How foolish. I said, Adrian, goodbye. Adrian lazily said, I want millet and pumpkin porridge next week. I went straight to the airport after leaving the house, and 10 hours later, I was already under the Meili snow mountain. After checking into a BB in town, I turned off my phone and slept for a whole day and night. If the enthusiastic owner hadn't forcibly woken me up for food, I could have continued. I splashed some cold water on my face and looked at the face in the mirror. My already indifferent features, combined with my tired eyes, made me feel like I could immediately join a production to play a character with trauma. Adrian has an award-winning film that is an art film, and he is very dedicated when filming. In the end, he had to live with the rats in the sewer. He didn't use a substitute body. Just took many showers afterward and held me while we slept for a week. Although he told me gruffly not to overthink it, I was really happy at the time. I thought we had finally gotten a little closer. I patted my face, trying to dispel my thoughts. This sleep didn't make me feel refreshed at all. Instead, years of fatigue welled up, leaving me listless from head to toe. I drifted downstairs like a zombie, staring blankly at the warm millet porridge on the table. When I caught a familiar figure in the corner of my eye, Aaron, I exclaimed in surprise. The person turned around, and who else could it be but Aaron with those ocean blue eyes? What are you doing here? Something happened at the company. Aaron strode over and sat down beside me. I came to participate in the Meili Snow Mountain climb a month later, the same as my purpose for this trip. Doubts arose in my mind. But then I remembered that Aaron's resume did indeed state his hobby as mountaineering, and that he was the president of the mountaineering club at his Ivy League school. Although Aaron and I have worked together for 3 years, we rarely socialize outside of work. I considerately stopped asking questions, telling him to let me know if he had any difficulties, as I still have some connections. Aaron had already peeled 2 shrimps and placed them on my plate, smiling gently at my words, his deep blue eyes shimmering. Then I'll thank you in advance, President Shin. I stuffed a piece of shrimp into my mouth, thinking to myself, I'm just worrying unnecessarily. With his face, he wouldn't starve even if he became a model. Unexpectedly, my hand trembled, and I didn't hold the shrimp firmly, and it fell to the ground. Aaron frowned slightly. Is your physical condition good enough to climb Meili Snow Mountain? The climbing difficulty of Meili Snow Mountain is not that high. The mountaineering team should be fine as long as they plan the route well. I waved my hand dismissively, then bumped into the chopsticks again. I tried to bend down, and heard a clear click from my spine. It seems that the damage work has done to me is more than I imagined. Aaron looked at me with some concern. Emily, the weather in the snow mountain is unpredictable, and it still requires physical strength. I know a little massage, and I can help you with some rehabilitation training. He added that he would take it as an advance thank you for the introduction. I didn't expect that I had degenerated to this point after a few years of work, leaving a reluctant impression. The boss passed by with a broom, winking at me and whispering, "Long time no see, a crush has come true. No wonder you were crying your eyes out while holding a broken ice cube back then with such a handsome young boyfriend." I awkwardly said, "We are not." Aaron didn't seem to hear Emily. "Let's go do it now." Aaron's room is actually next to mine. At the bonfire banquet in the evening, sitting by the bonfire, I couldn't hold back the questions in my heart any longer. I turned my head to stare at his unmoving expression, trying to find any trace of conspiracy. "Aaron, I haven't been late on your salary in the past 3 years, have I? Are you here to chase and kill me from 1,000 miles away?" Aaron paused, lowered his head to look at me, his azure eyes reflecting the firelight. "Emily, do you remember Mount Rosa? You are." He took a breath. "I am the Aaron you found. Mount Rosa is the most difficult snow mountain to climb in Country A. It is said that the mountain god protects the summit. The weather is harsh, complex, and changeable, and many climbers die on the way. At that time, my team and I were climbing halfway up when we learned that someone from another climbing team had gotten lost in the wind and snow. I didn't continue to the summit, but instead joined the search and was lucky enough to find Alan, who was almost covered by snow. I was quite surprised. It's you. You have no idea how heavy you were. Before reuniting with the team, I thought I would have to stay there with you." Aaron also hummed and looked at me intently. "You said at the time that you wanted to climb Mount Rosa with me again. I remember that there was a strong wind and white snow everywhere." I struggled to drag the heavy man and could only cheer myself up by talking loudly. I said, "We must all survive. I still want to see Adrian, and I still want to climb Mount Rosa." At the thought of Adrian, my heart sank, and I twitched the corners of my mouth, forcing a smile. "I plan to go at the end of the year. If you are still interested, you are welcome to join me." But this answered some of my questions in reverse. I joked, "No wonder someone with your educational background would be willing to be my assistant. So you're here to repay my kindness." Aaron nodded. "I asked your team, and you haven't climbed mountains since. Why climb? Rosa was my most capricious decision. Grandma Parker had just passed away at that time. I never believed in ghosts or gods, but I had long heard that the mountain god of Mount Rosa could fulfill all the wishes of those who reached the summit. I wanted to make a wish for Grandma Parker to have health and happiness in the next life. I look like a jumping campfire. After all, the debt was not paid off at that time, and I could not afford the possibility of an accident. Now it's different. I am alone, free to come and go, and finally I can pursue what I want." Aaron asked why I like mountaineering. I was silent for a moment, probably because the 9 billion upstairs hadn't come back to their senses yet. And I had already started telling the truth, because the process of climbing only requires consideration of the climb itself. After reaching the summit, I feel very small, and all my love and hate, all my pain, seem insignificant in the vastness of heaven and earth. It's like I've become part of the mountain," I muttered, staring at the bottle. I really like that feeling. Aaron didn't say anything, just listened to me quietly. I could hardly bear his gaze, so I changed the subject. "Has the statement of termination of the engagement been issued?" Aaron said in a deep voice. "It has been issued." I asked Adrian again. "Did he give you a diamond-encrusted snowflake?" Aaron shook his head. "He went directly to Richard's office the next day and didn't give me anything." Aaron took a sip of the wine in his hand, the firelight dancing in his eyes. "Is that snowflake important?" I also took a sip of wine and swirled the amber liquid in my glass. "It's not the first snow mountain I've climbed, it's Meili Snow Mountain. It's a snowflake I brought down from the summit, preserved in a branch, and it will never melt. The boxes of diamonds were all bought with the prize money I saved from competitions. They are worthless, boring things to others. But they may only be meaningful to me. How to treat a gift depends on the importance of the giver." Chloe's ring from high school. Adrian has been wearing it. I was staring at my wine glass, lost in thought, when I heard Aaron's voice. Not bored, I looked at him. "Let's train together tomorrow. Get some rest tonight." I seriously suspect that the Pei family doesn't pay Aaron enough. He has to work part-time at the gym and as a blind masseur after work every day to earn 2 extra incomes. She gave me a very specific physical recovery training plan, and her massage techniques were also very professional. After another massage, I felt my light body full of strength and couldn't help but say, "How do you know how to do this?" Aaron asked about my zodiac sign. He specifically learned it after that time he went down the mountain. Aaron also knew everything about various mountaineering equipment. I left the Pei family with nothing, originally planning to go shopping, but he had already prepared everything for me. He is also a great cook and makes meals in the small kitchen of the guest house every day. The owner, after having freeloaded a few meals, was completely won over. After dinner, he rubbed his round belly and looked thoughtfully at Aaron washing dishes in the shadows. "So handsome and virtuous, too perfect. If he wasn't your boyfriend, could you keep him here?" he said sincerely. Really needing this kind of multi-talented person. The sound of Aaron washing dishes stopped, and I laughed, not keeping it for myself. The sound of water started again, and I noticed Aaron's ears were red. The boss shook his head heartbrokenly, cursing as he walked. Capitalists want to squeeze every last drop of blood from their employees. I only knew that Aaron was meticulous in his work, but I didn't know that he was equally attentive in taking care of others' lives. I watched as Aaron dried his hands and walked towards me, and couldn't help but sigh. "It's only been a few days, and I already can't live without you." Aaron looked at me with bright eyes and a smile. I couldn't help but stare at him. With his mixed-race features, his eyes were like sparkling sapphires set in a sculpture. I rotated my wrist, thinking about how he was actually doing the work of a personal assistant, and suggested, "Are you interested in continuing to be my assistant? I'll pay you according to the compensation standard. I won't mistreat you." Aaron stopped smiling, and the air pressure around him seemed to drop several degrees suddenly. After a long while, he finally spoke in a muffled voice. "No, Ms. Shun, just think of me as a helpful fairy. That won't do. Taking advantage of kindness is not my style." The next day, we were going to climb the snow mountain, so I swiped a card separately that night, planning to give it to him after descending. Next to the card was my phone, which hadn't been turned on for a long time. I held it in my hand and hesitated for a moment, then plugged it in and turned it on. I thought there would probably be a few missed calls and sarcastic messages from Adrian, but I didn't expect the phone to pop up with countless messages and calls the moment it was turned on, until the phone completely froze and the screen went black. I stood there stunned, holding the phone. A familiar sense of exhaustion washed over me. I tossed my phone in the air, contemplating throwing it straight into the bonfire downstairs, but the nearest bank in town was a 2-hour drive away. And these days, anywhere with internet is unavoidable. I sighed, resigned to my fate, and reopened my phone screen. After a long delay, it finally became responsive. I scrolled to the top and saw that Adrian had sent a message the day after I left. "Emily, you better not regret this." A few days later, he forwarded another news item, and when I clicked on it, it was a clarification video. Adrian spoke without any reporter's voice, staring straight at the screen at the end. The previous interview about the ideal type was reenacting a scene from the drama. Miss Chloe and I are just partners and have no personal relationship. Those who spread rumors, wait to be sued. Her eyes were dark and gloomy, filled with red blood vessels, and she looked somewhat inexplicably paranoid. The comment section is buzzing. Is Brother Pei breaking off the engagement to pursue Chloe openly? Am I the only one who noticed the ring on his hand? He didn't have it during the engagement. But now that he's breaking it off, he's wearing it. I seriously suspect he's already engaged to Chloe. How is this guy, Fong, even more handsome? Regarding speculations about Chloe, Adrian agreed to return, so he hasn't broken off the engagement. I went back to the video and saw that he had taken off the ring he always wore and was wearing an engagement ring on his hand. I turned off the video expressionlessly, quickly skipping over the series of messages that followed. Don't you care about Grandma Parker's wishes, Emily? Do you have any conscience? The Pei family has nurtured you to this point, and you just quit. Competitors are taking advantage of this, and the company's stock price has fallen. Are you being responsible? I didn't agree to the cancellation of the engagement, and I won't sign it. Why did you directly have Pei issue a statement? How could you just leave with nothing? As a girl, don't you have any sense of security? My mom said I deserved it. Wasn't she asking you to monitor me? Why don't you listen to her either? Emily, that snowflake was a mistake by Shijiao. I didn't give him your things. Emily, I can't sleep, I'm drunk. Come pick me up. Emily, my stomach hurts. If you don't come, I'll die of pain. Okay, the news stopped 2 days ago. The last message being, Emily, where can I find you? That night, he called 78 times, and I turned off my phone screen, feeling an indescribable headache. If it were me a few years ago. As long as Adrian indicated he needed me, I would ignore the words he said and be uncontrollably happy. But now, I only feel the nauseating sensation of watching someone perform eating spoiled, expired food. I looked at the looming snow-capped mountains in the night outside the window, thinking that I really should just throw my phone into the fire. But the next second, the screen lit up again, the door opened, the sound of knocking followed simultaneously, filled with urgency and anger. I gritted my teeth and ignored it for a moment, but finally got up to open the door. As soon as the door opened, a dark figure carrying the cold air of wind and snow hugged me tightly. Adrian hissed in my ear, Emily, you bastard, how could you just disappear without telling anyone where you were? I thought you were dead. His breath was icy, and it made me shiver as it hit my ear. I struggled to break free from him. Mr. Pei, we have nothing to do with each other anymore. Please respect yourself. His eyes burned with fire as he grabbed my wrist. Nothing to do with each other. What if I take you back home? Does that count as something? The Pei family found evidence that got your biological father heavily sentenced, and he'll never get out. Does that count as something? I didn't sign the bullshit document you made. And I don't acknowledge the statement you issued. You still have 5% of Pei's shares. I am still your fiancé. Does that count as something? Enough. His voice gradually transformed into an ear-splitting buzzing in my ears. I shouted in a shrill voice that I didn't even expect. I know, the Pei family has been so kind to me. You don't need to keep reminding me. You saved me. Grandma Parker loves me. Your mother cultivated me. Adrian. What do you want me to do? Skip class with you? Go abroad with you? Be your agent? Fight Richard together? Richard and the board of directors have been fighting until a year ago. If the transformation is not successful in these years, the Pei family will be bankrupt and liquidated, and the lifetime efforts of Grandma Parker and Richard will be in vain. Can you bear to let them squeeze into small apartments of dozens of square meters to pay off their debts, if I don't do everything perfectly? Do you think Richard will turn a blind eye to your affairs, Adrian, when you were acting in plays abroad? Grandma Parker's Alzheimer's disease was so severe that she could talk to the mirror all day long. You want to pursue your dream, Richard is against it, but not everyone revolves around you. Everyone has their own things to do and doesn't have time to be a stumbling block on your path all the time. Adrian stared at me in silence. He suddenly reached out his other hand and touched my face. I couldn't dodge in time and saw a patch of cold water on his hand. Adrian has always been proud and arrogant, But at this moment, he looked down at the water stains on his hand and murmured, "I'm sorry, I can't feel myself crying, it's like fatigue itself is speaking. Adrian, I did report the motorcycle racetrack on the back hill, I went to see it overnight. And there were no guardrails, no barriers, and no first aid equipment. The nearest hospital is 5 kilometers away. I can't imagine you having an accident, but other than that, I really haven't been spying on you." Adrian said goodbye in a low voice and cried, "I believe that no matter what you said in the past, you would only get his sneer. This I believe you came too late." I said, "Let's go back. I don't want to do this. Mrs. Pei doesn't want the shares either. Every penny I have is earned through honest work. If you still feel that I owe the Pei family, take it all. Let's not contact each other again." Adrian looked up sharply, his eyes red, and he was about to reach out to hug me again. My struggle was too violent, and my head slammed against the half-open door. Just then, Aaron came up the stairs, and he rushed in front of me in one stride, punching Adrian in the face. He steadily held me, his eyes full of anxiety. "Emily, are you okay?" Adrian, caught off guard, fell to the ground. Looking over with blood at the corner of his mouth, the bewilderment in his eyes gradually turned into a dark rage. "Your assistant, Emily, you left me for him." I suddenly felt this scene was utterly absurd and couldn't help but laugh. I didn't understand why I had wasted my breath just now. Adrian's first reaction is always to doubt me. He has never trusted me. Maybe at the beginning, there was instigation from his so-called friends, but he chose to believe them. I gaze at Adrian. His handsome eyebrows and eyes still as they were in his youth. That fleeting glimpse in the rain once supported me through countless sleepless nights and helped me stand on countless podiums. But if it takes more than a decade of effort, tangible sacrifices, and shouting myself hoarse to earn just a little of his trust, then I don't want it anymore. He was once the light of my youth, but now I wish I had never met him. I said, "I've been secretly seeing Aaron all along. I broke off the engagement with you because I felt guilty. I'm just that kind of person. Stay away from me. You should celebrate your escape while you can." Aaron took a half step forward, blocking me, his voice icy cold. "Mr. Pei, please don't harass my girlfriend. Otherwise I don't mind solving this problem my way." I looked at him, puzzled. This guy is getting into character pretty quickly. The courtyard was suddenly filled with the sound of sirens, and when the police arrived, they caught Adrian lunging at Aaron, roaring. The boss followed behind, panting, with a wooden stick. "Emily," Adrian shouted at me before being taken away, "I'm your fiancé." I scoffed, "You didn't even show up for the engagement party. It's fine if they say I'm engaged to Richard." Payphong's face turned pale, and his lips trembled, but he couldn't say anything. After I called Richard and got his reply to leave him there, "He'll be fine after a couple of days." I turned around and saw Aaron kneeling by the bed, testing the water temperature in the basin with the back of his hand. He explained softly that my hands were very cold, and soaking my feet would make me feel more comfortable before going to bed. I did as he said and put my feet in the water. Watching Aaron apply medicine to my forehead and then wring out a hot towel to wipe my face, I felt a little embarrassed and quickly reached out to take it and wipe my own face. I'm not a child. And the assistant doesn't need to be so attentive. %, Aaron hummed, his deep blue eyes filled with a hint of a smile. Girlfriend's privilege. I felt a wave of embarrassment and apologized. "I'm sorry, Aaron, for dragging you into this mess." Aaron shook his head. "Fake. Also, it's an honor. I secretly decided to double his salary this month, and also compensate him for some reputational damage." I jokingly said, "You acted quite realistically. Maybe you should also develop in the entertainment industry. It has more prospects than being my assistant." Aaron said he has no eyes. He said liking you shows he has no eyes. Aaron casually dropped a grenade and went out with a natural expression, leaving me alone with my mouth half open, stunned by the bed for a long time. After a while, he naturally brought back a glass of warm milk, placed it on the cabinet, and instructed, "If you can't sleep, come find me. I'll be right outside the door." Seeing that he was about to leave, I quickly wished him a happy birthday. He walked to the bedside, looked down at me, and I thought, if you're staying with me for this reason, then I'm still sorry. I don't have any plans in this regard for the time being, and maybe never will. I finally have time to do what I want to do. For the next 10 years, I plan to climb the highest mountains, snow mountains that have never been successfully summited, and I will also try unprotected climbing. I don't deny that I have a good impression of you, but that's all it is. Aaron's eyes lit up when he heard the words good impression, and it felt like if he had a tail, he would be wagging it now. He said, "Wait for me." Before even a minute had passed, a resume was thrust into my hands. Unlike the work resume I had seen of his before, this resume described everything about Aaron in exhaustive detail, from his educational experiences from childhood to adulthood. Detailed personal physical data, financial situation as of the end of last month, and all his relatives and family members. I flipped through it, feeling incredulous. "Your father is the CEO of the KWT Group." And as I looked at his personal asset list and thought about the salary card I was going to give him, I suddenly felt a sense of robbing the poor to give to the rich. When I turned to the physical data, my face flushed, and I closed the file, putting it aside. Aaron knelt by the bed. His deep blue eyes full of sincerity, he said, "Emily, the first time I saw you was at the National Mathematics League when I was in the second year of high school. I've liked you since then. Showing you this isn't for any other reason, but just to show you that I am a physically healthy, mentally normal, and financially independent person. My affection for you is based on one person's appreciation and admiration for another. I don't need you to take any moral responsibility for me out of a sense of duty or guilt. In fact, it's already a pleasant surprise that you have feelings for me. Adrian is a lucky fool. He doesn't understand that your love is priceless. I accept any kind of relationship you define, whether it's employment or friendship. I said I like you just to let you know that your very existence can make another person happy." My eyes welled up, and I said vaguely, "Thank you. I really needed to hear that tonight." I composed myself, pushed a bank card over, and said, "For now, let's keep it as an employer-employee relationship." Aaron didn't seem surprised. He took the card and extended his hand to me. "Employer, how about a friend's hug?" I hesitated for a moment, but still hugged him. His arms were strong, encircling me gently, with the scent of sunshine. It was clearly a warm hug, but I felt inexplicably aggrieved. And the tears that had accumulated for many years poured out in an instant. Aaron said nothing, just patted me gently until I fell asleep in a daze. The next day, we set off. The climb was a bit challenging for me, but we finally made it to the top. When we opened the tent in the morning and saw the snow-capped peaks, I finally had a sense of starting over. This time, there was nothing in my mind. And I quietly admired the sun slowly rising above the peaks. In the following 2 years, I climbed mountains big and small, sometimes with Aaron, sometimes alone. Adrian would send me messages every now and then. I don't know how, but he could always find me quickly even when I changed my phone number. I never replied. Until one time, Aaron and I were in a cafe under a glacier and ran into Adrian sitting alone. I whispered a few words to Aaron and walked over to Adrian. I said, "Say what you need to say." Adrian's dark eyes stared intently at me. He said, "Emily, as long as you're willing to come back, the position of Mrs., his last name, will never be filled by anyone else." The hand holding the coffee cup lifted it gently, still bearing the engagement ring. I noticed the ring had been altered. It now included the diamond snowflake. I could not care less. "Aaron, it's Emily. I love you. I've always loved you. I just didn't know how to face it. There were too many accidental things. I hate you for not standing with me. I worried whether you were concerned about the Pay family's money or whether you loved me. I really didn't touch those women." I looked at Adrian, my heart calm and without waves. Although he was so close, I only felt him far away. "Not as close as the mountain stones and glacier," I said softly. "Adrian, after so many years, do you really not know if I love you? You just feel that I will always be waiting for you. So your emotions have a safe outlet. In my world, that's not love." Adrian's face suddenly turned pale, and he said urgently, "I will learn how to love you, Emily. I really miss you." I quietly looked at him, who once saved me from fire and water like a god, but squandered my love in day-to-day suspicion. I still thank him, but I decided not to love him anymore. I interrupted him. "It's over. From the moment I made the decision about Adrian, there would be no turning back. I walked out of the cafe and saw Aaron waiting, leaning against the car. I poked him. We should prepare to go to Lhasa Snow Mountain. We will climb to the top together. The weather was very good at Lhasa Snow Mountain this time, as if the mountain gods were also welcoming us, at the white summit. I piously made a wish to the mountain gods about Grandma Parker. After making the wish, I turned my head and found that Aaron was also closing his eyes. I gently leaned over and kissed him, and laughed at his sudden flustered breathing. I took his hand. The mountain gods here are very attentive, so our wishes will come true. Aaron immediately held his hand tightly. Even the roots of his ears were red, but his blue eyes were radiant. My gaze turned to the quiet and vast snow-capped mountains. The past was all behind me, and I knew that there were more peaks waiting in the future of my life. Next, I will tell you the second story. My boyfriend called to break up. And I was stunned for a moment before replying. Weren't we always friends? There was a second of silence on the other end, followed by an explosion. Sister-in-law is mighty. Boss, how have you been simping for so many years and still haven't gotten her? Jason cleared his throat and said, sorry, excuse me. I need to handle some family matters. He emphasized the words family matters. Jason was definitely angry. I hung up the phone before he could and immediately turned it off. I spent a day in class feeling uneasy. The old professor called on me to answer a question. I rarely answered seriously, without my usual joking manner. Hey, Lily, the old professor said, pushing up his glasses that had slipped down his nose. It's like you've been possessed. I chuckled and said, no way. This is my new semester, new persona, a quiet girl. The classroom burst into laughter, breaking the dull atmosphere. The old professor nodded. That's right, this is the real Liang Yu. After class in the evening, I kept my eyes down, focusing on my own business, and rushed towards the dormitory. Suddenly, my roommates sandwiched me in the middle, bumping me with their shoulders. Hey, look, there's a KN at the school gate. It looks so expensive. I don't know cars. But the handsome young man standing in front of the car is quite attractive. I looked up, and the fair-haired boy they were talking about was walking towards us, smiling brightly. He confidently opened his mouth and said, hi, sister-in-law, Sister Xiaoyu. My roommates may not have much else, but they have a keen eye. They pushed me forward, disappearing quickly. I lost my balance and was about to bump into Sophie, scaring Sophie into a painful expression. She finally closed her eyes and took a half-step back. You little rascal. Before she could finish cursing, I was scooped up around the waist. When did Jason get out of the car? I didn't have time to think about it. So I stood obediently. After finishing her speech, Sophie breathed a sigh of relief and patted her small body, relieved that her sister-in-law was okay. I rolled my eyes at her, and she smiled and said, sister-in-law, don't be angry. We were playing truth or dare with the boss, so the boss lost. And the dare was my lousy idea. After saying that, Sophie shook my arm and said, sister-in-law, if you want to hit or scold someone, go ahead, just don't be angry with the boss, okay? Jason took Sophie's hand away and said, all right, you can go. So, Sophie was brought out specifically to explain to me. The air conditioning in the car was a bit too cold, and I sneezed. Jason glanced at me and casually raised the temperature a couple of degrees. But the increased warmth couldn't hold back Jason's low spirits. After a long while, he finally spoke, his voice deep. What do you mean? Weren't we always just friends? This isn't you listening to me making things up. Don't explain, Lily, don't forget, we're married now. I slumped down, adjusting the chair to the most comfortable height, my slippers tucked inside. You were the one who brought up breaking up first, I grumbled in protest. %. Jason paused his hands on the steering wheel, asking me for a blanket. Okay. I won't mention it again. And also, when you're in someone else's car, you can't do that. What do you mean by that? I looked down and realized I was wearing a skirt today. I quickly covered myself with the blanket, a lifesaver. Did he see that pose just now? Did you see it? It's not white or anything. Humph. You saw it but you won't admit it. Serves you right for being quick to react. I blushed and stole a glance at Jason. His nose is high and straight, his jawline is excellent. His lip beads are distinct, and the setting sun shines on her face through the car window, adding a touch of gentleness. Even his profile is so good-looking. I keenly noticed that the tips of his ears were slowly turning pink. I took out my phone. Click. Jason's Adam's apple moved, and he swallowed. "What are you doing? You look so good." I admired my composition and lighting. "This photo should sell for a lot of money. Many fans will definitely rush to buy it." Jason laughed in amusement. "What, is the money I give you not enough to spend?" "Enough, enough, of course it's enough." Jason's wife, who can't be exposed, gives me 500,000 living expenses every month. It's a friendly agreement we reached. Jason is the esports player with the highest score. His hands are very steady, and I always fall asleep when riding in his car. It must be because I stared at Jason's photo for too long that I had such a strange dream. In the dream, my fingers gently stroked Jason's brow bone, the bridge of his nose, and his lip beads, and I kissed his lips when he was aroused. When I opened my eyes, I saw Jason's flushed face. I wasn't dreaming of breathing, and that's when I found my air. Jason chuckled. "Tidy up, and get out of the car." Looking at myself in the mirror with wet eyes and swollen lips, I took several deep breaths and cursed Jason in my heart. "You beast," seeing the familiar scenery around me. "It's that restaurant I mentioned was very delicious." Jason is a regular customer, and the owner is very familiar with him. But today he is a bit too enthusiastic until he sees me behind him. The owner rubs his hands unnaturally, seeing Grace by the window. I understand what the owner is being unnatural about. Grace is the youngest actress, and also Jason's unattainable first love, his ex-girlfriend. What a coincidence. Grace smiled and greeted us, as expected of a female celebrity. She is stunning even without makeup. Jason was stunned for a few seconds, nodded, and reached out to pull me from behind him to the front. "Thank you for that." Grace saw me and was visibly surprised, then smiled and said, "I didn't expect you to like this place too. Is it too late to dislike it now?" Grace gently bit her lip, her eyes slightly red, and stared affectionately at Jason. What a pair of old flames. Meeting is like daggers drawn, since this place is a private kitchen. And the people who come here are all regulars. Grace suggested we eat together. He sat across from Jason, and the two chatted casually about their recent situations. "Congratulations on establishing the top esports club in the country." "Thank you, Shin-chan. I plan to return to China for development in the future." I turned my awkwardness into appetite. "You guys chat, I'll just eat." I looked out the window, thinking that maybe I won't be able to be by Jason's side in the future. The boss came over and asked if we wanted our drinks iced or at room temperature. Jason and Grace said in unison, "Room temperature." I was the only one who ordered iced. Grace smiled shyly. "I didn't expect you to remember." Jason swapped my iced cola, and said to me, "Don't you know you can't have ice these days?" Faced with Jason's sudden concern, I instinctively glanced at Grace across from me. The shyness on her face hadn't faded yet, and her fingers gripping the cup were white. The atmosphere was too awkward, and I burped involuntarily. Liking someone is like a burp, you can't hide it at all, and it seems awkwardness is the same. As I burped for the nth time, Jason finally couldn't help laughing loudly. I glared at him, drinking water like crazy, but couldn't suppress it even with food. Help! Why am I burping in front of my love rival, watching Grace sitting elegantly across from me? I was so anxious I was about to cry. Jason patted my back dotingly. He took away the water glass I was about to refill, saying, "That won't help, I have a way, want to try it?" I nodded my head like a pea shooter while hiccuping, looking at, I looked in the direction Jason was pointing. The next second, the back of my head was suddenly held by his large hand and my mouth was blocked. "What are you doing?" My face flushed red as I pushed him away in a panic. He licked his lips as if not fully satisfied. Why did the burp turn into a stutter? I stammered for a long time, unable to say anything coherent. With a crash, Grace's cup fell to the ground, her eyes were slightly red, and her voice trembled. "Sorry, I couldn't hold it steady." After saying that, she walked towards the bathroom, looking strong yet fragile. I secretly glanced at Jason. He was unmoved, seriously eating his food. Something's not right, something's not right. Could it be that I, Yuching, was trying to anger Grace? Her current composure is forced. It's a show of strength, it's a disguise. I had no appetite to continue eating. Grace also returned, looking like a pear blossom in the rain, a truly pitiful white flower. I, with my observant eyes, opened the ride-hailing app. I'll take a cab back to school. Jason, you should take her home. Jason snatched my phone, put his arm around my shoulders, and walked outside. Grace, where do I need to go? Should I send you or her? Back in the car, I grumbled. Little brother. What's wrong with you? I gave you the chance, but you didn't take it. Jason glanced at me, a mischievous smile on his lips, his voice lazy. Whether I'm useful or not, you'll only know if you try. I was stunned. Even serious Jason has moments when he talks nonsense, blurting things out without acting on them. Who knows? Jason heard my ridicule and instead of getting angry, he laughed. Suddenly, a sharp turn, and the navigation voice sounded. You have deviated from the route. The route has been recalculated for you. Seeing the red on the map getting further and further away from my school, I asked softly, where are we going? Home. This isn't good, is it? When will I ever get rid of this habit of running my mouth? The night breeze was gentle, and the night was slightly cool. I looked at Jason's well-defined hands and remembered that my marriage to him was all thanks to my big mouth. Jason's family and mine are family friends. But he is 6 years older than me. Because he is good-looking, I have liked to follow him around since I was a child, and I also love tinkering with photography. Jason's first sensational photo was taken by me. At that time, Jason was just beginning to emerge. And Grace was just an unknown esports competition host. A handsome man and a beautiful woman's heart stirred, so I wasn't surprised that they were together. Occasionally, when I took pictures of the two of them together, I thought they were a good match. Except for a little bit of heartache that I hid very well. Grace, who had a strong career drive, was unwilling to make their relationship public, and Jason's condition took a sharp turn for the worse after falling in love, making mistakes in several important competitions. At the same time, Grace was spotted by a director because of her hosting photos, and her career was booming. One was falling into a trough, while the other had gone even higher. So arguments were inevitable. After Grace went abroad, Jason was incredibly depressed for a while. I registered many fake accounts and pretended to be a fan to leave her encouraging messages. I also promoted him on various platforms. Even though it was me who failed to win Jason over, my pride got the better of me, and I bragged to everyone that Jason had been chasing me for years, but I never agreed. No one believed me except my mom and his mom. You little rascal. Jing Chen has been in such a bad state recently. It turns out that when our parents approached Jason, Grace's secret relationship with Jason was exposed, and he was embroiled in scandals. Jason pulled me into his arms and said to the reporter's cameras, I've been chasing this person for many years, and today I can finally say my wish has come true. Marry me. I heard him say, what clarification is more concise and powerful than the object getting married directly? I thought for a long time and couldn't find one. We got engaged in the morning and married in the afternoon. When I received the marriage certificate, I felt like it was burning my hand. On our wedding night, I guiltily stole a glance at Jason. That, I can explain. I'm sorry. I haven't organized my words yet. Jason apologized first. I'm sorry. I took advantage of you. Looking at Jason's dejected expression, my heart felt like it had been pricked by the needle-wielding granny. The courage I had accumulated for many years instantly turned into a deflated balloon. I swallowed the confession, patted Jason on the shoulder generously, acting like his best buddy. No need to be polite, just give me 500,000 a month for living expenses after you win the championship. Jason rarely smiled. 500,000. You dare to ask for more? This is someone's first marriage. Besides, you're so stingy even with a championship. Are you so sure I can win? Of course, you are Jason. He touched my head. Okay, then I'll win a championship for you. Jason really changed after the marriage. He worked even harder, eating, living, and sleeping at the club, barely going home. In the dead of night, I wondered if Jason didn't come home because of me. So I applied for school accommodation and lived with my roommate. The following year, Jason really won the championship. He rushed towards me with the trophy, and we hugged each other and cried. I didn't want to know why he was crying. I was just moved by the 50,000 monthly income in the future. The game ended, and Jason established a top-tier esports club in the country. I also went from being his personal photographer to the team photographer. Through the camera, I could openly watch Jason. Feel his unwillingness, his desire to win, and the emotion and endless emptiness after winning, recording every important moment in his life with photos. It's just a pity that I'm never in the photos, except for that proposal in front of the camera. Jason has never proactively introduced my identity to those around him. Sometimes when asked, he would say a friend, just a kid from the neighbor's house who likes to dabble in photography. Fortunately, he doesn't avoid it. Because I have to take photos of the team members, so I get along well with the little brats in the club. Jason has hardly had any other women around him besides me these years. During the New Year and holidays, I always come to the club to wait for him to drive home together. The team members thought we were a couple and cheered, calling me little sister-in-law, which I secretly enjoyed being called. What made me even happier was that Jason didn't deny it and let them call me that. On the way home for Chinese New Year, I happily hummed a little tune. What was making me so happy? I smoothed Jason's collar and said with a smile, "It's nothing, just a very, very small thing, not worth mentioning." My happiness didn't even last the length of one traffic light. Jason's phone rang. The contact was Grace. Seeing the caller ID, Jason slammed on the brakes, and I, who never liked wearing a seatbelt, hit my head hard. "Does it hurt?" Jason's eyes were full of self-reproach. "It doesn't hurt, not at all." Jason smiled. "If it doesn't hurt, why are you crying?" It was then that I realized I was actually crying. To prove that it really didn't hurt, I started laughing again, and the combination of laughter and tears made Jason stare blankly. He quickly took me to the hospital for a checkup, but I couldn't explain it well. I couldn't very well tell Jason that my head didn't hurt, but my heart did. That would be too embarrassing. I would rather Jason think I was a fool than be laughed at by him. That was the first time we went home for Chinese New Year as a newly married couple. There weren't enough rooms, so we were forced to share a bed. While Jason was in the shower, his phone lit up, my heart skipped a beat, and I subconsciously looked at the screen. "Jing Chen, I miss you." At night, Jason went to the balcony and talked on the phone for a long time. When he came back, he was enveloped in a chilling air and a faint smell of smoke, which wasn't unpleasant. The bed sank a few inches, and Jason held me in his arms. So cold. Damn, Jason must be using me as a hot water bottle. The temperature got higher and higher, and there was nothing better than a warm bed in winter. I snuggled into his arms, found a comfortable position, and in a daze, I asked him, "Jason, do you know who I am?" He didn't expect me to ask that, and was stunned for a moment. He answered that he knew. "Then who am I?" "Lily." Hearing my name, I felt mostly relieved. "Jason, if you want a divorce, tell me anytime. I'll figure out a way to deal with Mom and Dad." After a long, long time, I fell asleep. Jason seemed to say something, but I didn't hear it, nor did I want to. Suddenly, I felt a warm touch on my forehead. Jason asked with concern, "Did you have a nightmare? Your brows are so furrowed." I didn't want to answer, so I stretched and looked out the window. Changing the subject, "Did I fall asleep again?" Jason rubbed my head and said, "Yeah, you were sleeping like a little pig." Jason and I's new house is truly new. The happiness characters haven't been taken down yet, and the number of times someone has lived in it can be counted on one's fingers. We regularly hire a cleaning lady to clean it, so it's not dirty, but it also lacks a human touch, especially any trace of me. When we first got married, I also had many fantasies about our home. During that time, I was like I was bewitched, buying anything related to couples, couple toothbrushes, couple cups, couple slippers. I used to happily wait for Jason to come home, but he didn't seem to like it very much. I still remember him holding the cartoon toothbrush cup and smiling awkwardly, saying, "It's not necessary to go this far." I also laughed and said, "Isn't this just in case our parents come for a surprise inspection?" Later, Jason never came back to our house. I felt like I was saying a long and grand farewell all by myself. For every day he didn't come back, I threw away a carefully selected couple item. On the day I threw away everything, I moved back to school. More than friends, Less than lovers is my comfortable zone where I'm stuck in a dilemma. Right now, the room is filled with only Jason's everyday items and a few clothes he left behind. He paced back and forth in the room several times, as if looking for something. Lily, here I am. Every time Jason calls me by my full name, it's never a good thing. Sure enough, the smile didn't reach his eyes. What's going on? I played dumb. What's going on? Jason was amused by my reaction. He loosened his tie. Okay, Lily, you've grown up, I pouted. What does Jason think I am anyway? A little white rabbit who doesn't know how to resist and only knows how to like him foolishly. Normally, I wouldn't dare to make such small gestures in front of her, but today, his white moonlight grace is back, and I reckon divorce is just around the corner, so I might as well drop the act. Jason suddenly pinned me against the entryway, his eyes darkening. Wife, he whispered in my ear. I suddenly remembered that we hadn't properly enjoyed our wedding night yet. And the hairs on my body stood on end. I was surrounded by Jason's scent, and my head was spinning more than if I were drunk. Using what little reason I had left, I pointed out the window to look at the air, and taking advantage of his distraction, I slipped into the bathroom. Phew, that was close. After showering, I realized I celebrated too soon. I didn't think I'd be back in this house, and there's no change of clothes for me here. I gently knocked on the bathroom door. Jason, can you get me one of your longer shirts, brother? This opportunistic little man. I clenched and unclenched my fists. When you're under someone else's roof, you ultimately bow to the evil forces. Brother, geez, I haven't called him that since I was a kid. I'm so embarrassed. What? Louder. I can't hear you, I said. Jason, brother, you wants clothes. See, wouldn't it have been better to say it sooner? Jason handed me a shirt, a short one, although she is much taller than me. It barely covered my thighs when I put it on. How come I never noticed Jason was so inappropriate before? Or is it that all jungle players are secretly perverted? Jason was in the living room listening to the TV. When he saw me come out, he looked me up and down, and I blushed. I ran back to my room, afraid to meet his eyes. I've been feeling heavy and tired these past few days. When Jason came in, I thought I was dreaming. Alas, the feeling of his hair being half wet and half dry doesn't seem like a dream. I stared wide-eyed, clutching the blanket as I sat up. Hitch, how did you get in here? Jason looked at me as if it were the most natural thing in the world. This is my house. Why wouldn't I be able to come in? But hadn't you been sleeping in the living room, study, and nursery before? Fine, if you won't leave, I will. I wrapped myself in the blanket and shuffled towards the door. But suddenly Jason scooped me up by the waist, tossed me onto the bed, and bedlocked me. Looking at Jason's prominent nose, I heard myself say, Jason, this will cost extra. Okay, how come I didn't realize you were such a gold digger before? How did that saying go again? I want a lot and lots of love. If not, then I'll take a lot and lots of money. Jason, I really like you. I blocked his lips, looked into his eyes, and said seriously, Jason, let's get divorced. He still had a mischievous smile on his face, looking at me suspiciously. What did you say? I said let's get divorced, so you can be with Grace openly, and you don't need to use me to make her jealous. Don't be silly, girls need to be coaxed, you'll only push him further away like this. Jason anxiously ruffled the hair on his forehead, his laughter a bit frightening. He had that expression when he was being mocked by his opponent during the match. I couldn't help but shiver. Angry as he was, he still helped me pull the blanket up. He suppressed his anger and asked, so you think I'm doing all this to make Grace jealous? Isn't it obvious that Grace is with him? As soon as he came back, you took me to that restaurant and suddenly became so insatiable. The more I spoke, the more aggrieved I felt, and tears streamed down my face. Jason, I don't want to be your and Grace's tool anymore. Woo-woo, I don't know why my emotions are suddenly so unstable. I'm not usually such a crybaby. Jason gritted his teeth in anger. Lily, who the hell do you think I am? Seeing me crying so hard, he sighed and rubbed his forehead, handing me a tissue and fiercely saying, Don't cry. I pouted and nodded, tears still streaming down. Don't pout. I was crying so hard I was gasping for air, and in the space where I opened my mouth to breathe, Jason kissed me. I was stunned, letting him take what he wanted. Suddenly, my stomach cramped. Like a drill was twisting inside me. I looked down the mountain and, sure enough, Aunt Flo had arrived. I knew there was a reason I'd been so tired and emotional lately. It was all Aunt Flo's fault. I've always had dysmenorrhea, and the pain makes me break out in cold sweats and writhe in bed. Jason didn't bother getting angry. He boiled water for me and poured it into a bottle, wrapped it in a towel to make a hot water bottle, and settled me down. Then I put on my clothes and went out to buy things. The pain was so bad that I only felt better when I was asleep. In my dream, I felt an even bigger hot water bottle, and I hugged it as I slept. When I woke up in the morning, I saw Jason's handsome eyes staring straight at me. Finally awake, Sleeping Beauty, I thought. Oh no, yesterday was too painful. I fell asleep without cleaning up. I quickly pulled back the covers, relieved to see that the quilt was spared. But there were a few bloodstains on the sheets. It was only Jason's shirt that was a disaster. When did I put on overnight period underwear? I ducked my head under the covers, initiating shy mode, but the more I did that, the more Jason egged me on. Oh, are you shy? It's no big deal. I used to pee you as a kid. I threw a pillow at him. Shut up. Jason brought over a cup of sugar water. Don't be shy. Drink some of this sweet, warm stuff. It'll make you feel warm inside. Why are you suddenly having a change of heart and being so nice to me? Jason paused for a moment. Didn't you say that girls need to be coaxed? After saying that, he remembered something and ordered me sternly. Don't you ever say the word divorce again. You hear me? What did that mean? Afraid of being presumptuous? I didn't dare ask. Sometimes, not knowing the result is much happier than knowing it. As a senior, I had fewer classes to begin with, and I also had 2 credits for marriage. So mostly I had elective courses left. Coincidentally, an old professor had a prized student who had some connections in the entertainment industry and had created a celebrity interview program. The old professor recommended me to take photos and videos for them. Before I went, the old professor specifically told me to cherish this opportunity. I only recommended you for this. So don't embarrass me when you go. I bowed deeply and gave the professor a salute. The professor rolled his eyes at me and replied, "Respect." I widened my eyes. Professor Hey is so trendy. Stop being so glib and go quickly. You originally planned to interview a positive energy idol. And my roommate even asked me to get an autographed photo. But in the middle of the night, his scandals were exposed, and his image collapsed instantly, helplessly. You could only temporarily replace the interview object. Movie queen Grace smiled as she appeared in front of everyone, and everyone exclaimed, "Oh my God, she's so beautiful. The key is that she's so kind and not at all pretentious. She's actually willing to come and save the day." Sob sob. The director bumped my shoulder. "Are you still in a daze? Hurry up, it's about to start." Only then did I regain my composure, set up the machine, and adjust the equipment. The interview officially began. Because it was a last-minute interview, there was no time to design questions, so the questions were all quite conventional. But when asked why she returned to China to develop her career, Grace paused, glanced out the window, and smiled sweetly. These few small actions evoked thousands of emotions in people's hearts. His slightly regretful and hopeful eyes looked firmly at the camera, and he said, for someone in a trance, I couldn't tell if he was trying to say it to Jason through the camera, or if he was saying it to me. During a break in the interview, Senior came over to see the footage I had shot. He patted my shoulder with a satisfied expression. Not bad. Xiao Yu's capture of expressions is very delicate. Of course, look who taught me. I stumped Senior for a moment. As for the skill of being glib, Grace also came to see the footage. The shots are really good, she said to me with a smile. I was a little embarrassed by her sincerity. Teacher Jen is beautiful. So any shot will look good. Fortunately, the awkward atmosphere didn't last long. A small assistant shouted happily, "Everyone, drink milk tea. Someone is here to deliver milk tea." Everyone jokingly looked at Grace, who just stood there quietly, smiling without saying a word. As the saying goes, a fool doesn't take advantage of a bargain. I had just picked up my milk tea when I overheard a few people gossiping quietly. "Hey, do you know who sent this milk tea? Is it esports god Jason? Is that the same one who had rumors with Grace before? Wow, he came chasing after her as soon as she returned to the country. I'm betting on a reconciliation. Suddenly, the milk tea in my hand didn't taste so good anymore. Coming out of the restroom, I ran into Grace washing her hands. She smiled at me in the mirror and asked, "Is the milk tea good?" Perhaps it was a woman's intuition. But Grace was someone I felt uncomfortable with from the first time I saw her, after her return to the country. That discomfort only intensified. Even though she was outstanding in every way, I just felt that it was very deliberate, almost unreal. Grace raised an eyebrow, sizing me up as she dried her hands. "Lily, you've changed a lot. I still prefer the old you, and we still have Jason." "Oh, well. You can continue reminiscing. I'm going out first. The interview is still going on." I shook my head, clearing my mind of distracting thoughts, and finished up. "Senior brother is treating everyone to dinner. Would Director Jen like to join us?" Senior brother asked politely. "Senior brother is treating again. Director Jen is so busy, how could she possibly come?" "Sure," Grace agreed with a smile. This time, the small team was dumbfounded. It took them a while before someone patted senior brother on the shoulder and said, "Please treat us to something good next time." I packed up my equipment and slipped away. I still have some homework to do, so I'll head back first. Before I could even touch the doorknob, senior brother grabbed me by the back of my collar and hauled me back. "What homework are you writing?" "I'll call the professor. You don't need to write it, bro. I'm really gonna thank you." The bar was dark and noisy, and at first, everyone was a bit reserved. Grace raised her glass and stood up. "This toast is to everyone, to thank you for your hard work today." He always seemed so proper standing there, after a few drinks. The staff saw that Tong was unpretentious, and they started to relax and have fun. Midway through, Grace glanced at her phone and asked coyly if she could bring a friend. Jason came in with her. As soon as everyone saw him, they immediately started to tease them. Jason frowned, looked around, saw me, and without waiting for Grace to introduce him, plopped down next to me. "Why don't you reply to my messages or answer my calls?" I then remembered that I was used to turning off my phone when I was working. I turned on my phone and saw a dozen WeChat messages and missed calls, all from Jason. The atmosphere was a little awkward for a moment. The senior classmate bumped my shoulder. "You know him, a friend." Jason heard this introduction, laughed in anger but didn't say anything, just sat down there with a dark face, as big as a pot bottom. The senior classmate took out a deck of playing cards from who knows where. "Since we're all friends, let's play together. Come on, let's play the king's game. The person who draws the king card can assign any two other cards to do anything." The first round's king card was drawn by Grace's little assistant, who chuckled and designated numbers 4 and 9 to kiss, a deep, passionate one. "This is getting intense." I quickly glanced at my card, number 5. "Phew, lucky it's not me." "Who are number 4 and 9? I quickly stood up. Grace stood up with the number 4 card, looking shy. "Wow, who's so lucky to be number 9? A bad feeling grew stronger in my heart. Sure enough, Jason had the number 9 card. Kiss, kiss, kiss. Chi Hongsheng's antics gave me a headache. Jason suddenly stood up and downed a drink. Looking at me, he said, "Sorry. My wife at home keeps a tight leash." Like a bolt from the blue, Grace stood there, her face turning pale. "Ha ha ha." Senior apprentice brother laughed dryly. Who knew Jason was so afraid of his wife? "Come on, let's keep playing. This time, the king is Grace." He designated me and senior apprentice brother to drink from linked arms. Not a big deal, but why do I still feel uneasy? I poured the wine, and the moment I stood up, Jason said coldly, "Linked arm wine should only be drunk with one's husband, right? Now I can't drink it, and I can't not drink it." In a flash, Jason snatched my glass and drank it down. "I'll drink this one for him." I can see now, as long as Jason is here, the atmosphere is unbearably low. To make sure everyone has fun, I can only drag Jason away. As soon as we entered the elevator, Jason cornered me. "A friend, is that how you introduce me to others?" I nodded, puzzled, and asked, "That's how you introduce me to others too? Right, you can't have double standards." "Yeah." I noticed Jason resorting to kissing me whenever he couldn't argue. A drunken Jason was even more aggressive than usual. He only let me go when the elevator doors opened. I gasped for air and accused, "You can't just do this when you can't win an argument." Jason was in a much better mood, and asked with a smirk, Just do what? How come I never noticed Jason was so childish? He smiled, took a cup of milk tea from his bag, leaned close to my ear, and said in a volume only we could hear, "This cup is specially for you, a hot brown sugar pearl milk tea." I took the milk tea. It wasn't hot anymore, just lukewarm. "Thank you for visiting Grace's workplace and remembering to bring me a cup." As soon as I said it, I realized how sour my tone was. Jason patted my head, whose underage jealous pot is out working. I poked the milk tea as if it were Jason, took a big sip, and commented, "It's all right, not very good," he explained with a smile. "I didn't visit Grace's workplace, I came to visit yours." "Well, I asked your roommate yesterday and found out you were coming to film. I didn't know the interviewee had been changed to Grace." "Yeah, the interviewee was changed last minute." Jason had no idea. I quickly went through the messages Jason sent. He really came to see me and asked several times where I was. My heart warmed, and I took an inch when given a foot. "Then how did you come in with him?" I said it was a coincidence. "Do you believe it?" "I'll believe you for now." Jason bent down, his eyes wet from the alcohol. He rubbed his nose against mine, acting aggrieved and sweet. "Is the milk tea really not good? How can anyone resist this?" My face flushed, and I nodded and then shook my head. "It's good." The corner of his mouth turned up. "Then let me have a taste." Okay, the seniors interview column was very successful. The combination of a movie queen label and a love story of returning for her beloved is exactly what the gossiping masses like, and it quickly topped the hot search charts. Along with it, Jason also made the list. The thing I was most worried about still happened. The past relationship between the two was thoroughly dug up. Looking at their photos in the posts, I have to marvel at how well matched they are. The fans are meticulously dissecting the details of their young, unfulfilled, and restrained love. My uninformed roommates even sent me gossip links. Boo-hoo, so touching. The staff who were filming the other day even came out to reveal that Jason bought milk tea for everyone during the visit. The public opinion fermented quickly, and even Grace and Jason had super topic pages. A strong woman and a strong man, both good-looking. It's simply a carnival for CP fans and those who appreciate good looks. Only occasionally did a few doubts flash. But they were quickly drowned out. When I went back to look at the doubts, I realized that they were almost all posted by the esports team's kids. Stop spreading rumors. Okay, we already have a little sister-in-law. Wake up, cue netizens. When I looked at the IDs, the ones in Road were the most vocal. And they were also the most severely attacked. I quickly sent a notice to the group chat where only the team members and I, without Jason, were in, telling them not to post anymore. Sophie was furious, but also afraid I'd be upset, so she told me not to look at my phone. I smiled and said it was okay. The internet has no memory, we just need to wait. It seems I am naturally good at waiting, to take a satisfactory photo. I could honestly squat in the small garden and wait for the flowers to bloom since I was a child. The swing in the neighborhood is always the children's favorite toy. If I couldn't get it, I would wait obediently, until dark. Until all the other children went home, and then I would go swing. Waiting is not bad, especially when you are sure there will be a result. When I grew up, I was still good at waiting, but I was more accustomed to waiting for nothing. When I'm unhappy, I like to swing. I was swinging at school when Sophie suddenly appeared mysteriously. "Damn, you little rascal, you're trying to scare me to death." Sophie pulled down her sunglasses, gave me a shush gesture, under the eerie atmosphere. I also lowered my voice and leaned my head over. "Sis, you need to be mentally prepared for what I'm about to say." I nodded nervously. "What is it?" Sophie said indignantly. "Boss, he's cheating." Before I could react, Sophie had already dragged me into the car to trigger a mission to catch him in the act. Before Jason and Grace's date at the restaurant, Sophie even dragged me to a nearby store to buy sunglasses and a scarf, making us even more conspicuous with the gear. What was going on? With a series of agile moves, Sophie led me to a spot next to them. I silently gave her a thumbs up, as expected of her. As soon as we sat down, I saw Grace fall into Jason's arms, spilling the wine from her glass all over Jason's pants. "I'm sorry, I'm still so clumsy," Grace said. Grace squatted down to wipe Jason's pants, but the area she was wiping became increasingly awkward. I opened my phone and checked WeChat, but the message I sent him this morning hadn't been returned. Was he on a date with his old flame? A wave of sadness washed over me, and I wanted to leave, but Sophie held me down. Sis, a small impatience can ruin big plans. Jason stopped Grace's movements, sneered, and said, "Speak up, what do you want?" Grace smiled, ignored his words, and continued pouring. "Still want the steak medium well." Jason was a little angry. "Grace, I'm not here for dinner today." Hearing this, Grace blinked innocently, asking knowingly, "Then what are you here for?" Jason picked up his wine glass and took a sip, his voice indifferent. "I thought we could maintain appearances, but it seems I was thinking too much." After saying that, Jason picked up his coat and was about to leave, but Grace stopped him. "Shin-chan, are you still angry about that?" "I swear on my 3 fingers. I really have nothing going on with the director." Jason's smile made people panic. "Oh, what about my best buddy?" This was a huge bombshell. Sophie and I stared at each other, looking like we'd never seen the world. Grace looked at Jason in disbelief. "What about all those other team members? How do you explain that?" "Grace, are you buying stocks? You flirt with all the potential players, and then try to rekindle things with whoever becomes the world champion." Jason laughed self-deprecatingly. "My buddy told me, and I didn't believe it. He bet me that if I pretended to be careless and a bit down, you would leave me. Then you really did break up with me. It's just a lot to take in." Sophie nervously took a sip of water, and Grace's eyes instantly turned red. "Jason, is that really how you see me? Even when she's crying, she's so beautiful. I wish I could hand her a tissue." Jason said, "Cut it, best actress. Please stop with the act. Aren't you tired of playing the innocent and the victim?" He brushed off non-existent dust from his arm and continued, "Do you know what made me the saddest after the breakup?" "What do you mean I'm too young and blind?" "Grace, I'm almost 30. Stop using those tactics you use on teenagers." With that, Jason swirled his water glass and said, "You released our photo, didn't you? Back then, I wanted to go public, but you refused no matter what. There's no need to rehash old news now. I'm not a fool like Lily." "Speaking of me," Jason laughed, "I was an innocent bystander at the next table." "Oh, and Lily, pay back that 800,000. Back then, to support my dream, that fool gave you all the money she made selling photos since she was a kid. But I remember only receiving 200,000. What? Grace, you black-hearted agent." Jason broke up with his dad to pursue his esports dream, and worried that he wouldn't be able to make it without money. "I gave him all my savings. He actually pocketed so much. I was so angry that I slammed the table and stood up, and then Jason dragged me away, through my sunglasses." I looked at him with great confusion. "How did you recognize me?" Jason looked at me like I was an idiot. "I'd recognize you even if you were ashes." Doesn't that sound a little scary? The first thing Jason did when he got home was rummage through boxes and cabinets. After finding the marriage certificate, he grabbed me for a photo together. "Why are you clarifying?" He opened his phone and started typing. "No need, right? People will forget about it after a while anyway." Jason tapped me on the head. Jason's clarification was as concise and forceful as ever. "Married, do not disturb," accompanied by a photo of us with our marriage certificate. And she also retweeted the interview video from that year. In the video, Jason put his arm around me and said to the reporter's camera, "I've been simping for this person for many years. And today I can finally say my wish has come true." Is this what it feels like to be out in the open? The feeling of being actively defended is so different. I'm so touched I could cry. Jason already had a fan base, and the clarification blew up instantly. Worried about the comments, I clicked on it and saw that all the comments from the club's kids were at the top, with uniform sentence structures. "Sis, you're our only sister-in-law." I ran up to Jason and caught him browsing shopping apps, searching for couples. I hugged his waist. "Jason, thank you." As I finished speaking, she bent down and kissed my lips. "It seems we've started dating, going to IKEA together, cleaning the room together, cooking and playing games together. Actually, I'm not bad at gaming either, after all. I practiced for a long time back then to follow in Jason's footsteps, but effort really can't compare to talent. The team's competition is coming up, and Jason has been very busy lately. Constantly giving Sophie and the others hellish training in the team, Sophie has been sending me WeChat messages complaining, "Sis, please take care of our leader, or you won't see your cute little brother anymore. What are you doing?" Jason naturally took my phone after showering. He replied with a voice message. "If you're so free, add another set of visual exercises." Sophie asked me to play ranked games together on the weekend, and Jason also came to join in the fun. However, the number one player in the point race made more mistakes in this game than in his entire professional career. "I have reason to suspect you're throwing the game," Sophie chattered. "Sister-in-law, you don't understand, a guy who really likes you can't carry you in games at all. Why? Because his attention is all on you." Messing up the rhythm, I raised the corners of my mouth, cheekily snuggled into Jason's arms, and fluttered my big eyes to ask him, "Really, let me see what's messed up." Jason grunted and got up to hide in the bathroom. He swiftly wiped out the opposing team in 3 minutes. Winning and logging off, he came back and hugged me, saying, "My heart was in turmoil, so this is what it's like to be an ordinary couple. So happy." We were lying in bed at night, and Jason suddenly asked me, "Lily, you're not allowed to be too good to me." "Huh, why?" Jason turned over and held me in his arms, his tone gentle. "Wait until I've made up for all the good I should be doing for you. Then you can be good to me, you childish devil. Liking you is my business. I'm already so grateful to fate that you can like me." Grace asked me out a few times, but I refused. It wasn't until he said he would return the money that I agreed. When I arrived at the agreed meeting place, I didn't see Grace. But I saw that beautiful little boy all alone. There were no adults around, and I was afraid he would be targeted by traffickers, so I stood next to him for a while. The little boy tugged at my clothes and spoke timidly. I squatted down and asked, "What's wrong? Do you have a dad?" "Yes." He lowered his bright, watery eyes. "I also want my mom and dad to bring me to find my dad today." I touched his head and comforted him. "You'll find him, don't worry." Grace walked over. The little boy ran over and called out, "Mommy." My heart was instantly in turmoil. Grace gently picked up the little boy, took a paternity test from her bag, and slowly said, "I wouldn't want to rely on a child to win him back unless absolutely necessary." When Jason saw the 99% probability on the paternity test, I was thunderstruck. Fate always loves to play jokes on me like this, giving me a heavy blow every time I feel like life is getting a little better. As if reminding me not to get carried away, I went back to school and spent a week trying to process this, but I couldn't come to terms with it. Just then, my senior classmates were going to the Arctic for a field trip, and I signed up almost unconsciously. Escaping is shameful, but it works. Standing in the icy wilderness, watching the aurora borealis in the sky, I suddenly felt so insignificant. My senior classmate suddenly came over, patted me on the shoulder, looked into my eyes, and said knowledgeably, "I heard that lovers who have seen the aurora together will never be separated. Haha, is that true? But the person I wanted to see the aurora with is gone." On the second day of the field trip, there was a sudden earthquake in the nearby waters, and we lost contact with the outside world. Surrounded by ice and snow, with insufficient supplies, we don't know if we can wait for rescue. The smiles that everyone had when they first arrived were gone, and everyone was worried. Some even wrote wills and started sobbing as they wrote. I also wrote one for my parents, but not for Jason. I ran into the snow and wrote my will for him in the snow. "Jason, Lily, I love you so much that I don't dare to write a will for you, afraid that you will remember me for many years after reading it. If I die, I hope you just don't remember me. The ice and snow of Antarctica will keep my secret. A love that even the sun cannot melt away. In the face of life and death, everything is trivial." The day the rescue team arrived, we had been trapped for a week. It must have been a dream, because the face of the rescuer I saw was Jason. Maybe this time I really won't see him again. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. The sunlight shone on me, warm, completely different from the sunlight in the Arctic. "You're awake," Jason said, his eyes red, his hair messy, and his beard hadn't been shaved in a long time. I looked at him with love. "Yeah, I'm back." %. Jason hugged me, crying, holding me tight. It was the first time I saw Jason crying so ugly, and cursing at me while crying. the hospital TV was broadcasting a celebrity gossip story. Recently, the love child of movie queen Grace and a famous director was discovered and exposed by the director's wife. I stared blankly at Jason and asked, puzzled, "Isn't the child yours?" Jason jumped up in anger. "How could it be? I've never even touched him." "Then what about the paternity test?" "Silly, those can be faked." He hugged me, his tone both angry and gentle. "In the future, no matter what happens, tell me first." Okay. After Jason couldn't find me, he immediately confronted Grace. When Grace realized it was going to turn into a murder case, she confessed to the police. Thanks to Jason's persistent search, I was found in time. After we were rescued from the Arctic, Jason made delicious food for me every day to help me recover. "I can't eat anymore. Look how fat I've become." Jason looked at me and said, "Nonsense," saying I haven't gained any weight at all. At night, he remembered the corneal transplant incident, telling me not to pay attention to him in the future. There are good people in the entertainment industry, but not many. I nodded, pretending to understand. The esports circle is the same, with good and bad. "So what about you? Are you bad?" Jason hugged me with a grin. "There's worse. Do you want to try?" Well, that's all for today's story. If you like this video, please subscribe. We will continue to update more exciting stories and look forward to seeing you next time.